Hey guys, Pete Ramsey here again with Kelly McKay on our next podcast. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are safe out there, keeping those vehicles between the ditches. Kelly, what's going on, bro?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
Just the excitement. Dude, what has got you down today? I noticed that you're really quiet. Are you okay?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm good. I just had a tooth removed, and so this is the second day after the tooth removal, and I'm still in quite a bit of pain from it.
Okay.
Still feels like somebody kicked me in the face with a
Yeah.
steel toe. So
Been there, done that. I think we love our dentists, don't we? Aren't they great? So,
yeah,
yeah.
it definitely just to be clear, I didn't just go in and they just grabbed onto the tooth and pulled it out. No, 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 no. It took an hour of drilling.
Torture.
It did not move. The tooth never moved. They had to drill the entire thing out. I think he probably used 40 different tools on me, and I'm not exaggerating. He would grab one, set it down, and he would dig, and then he'd throw it down. Then he'd grab another one and try it, and then grab it. Then he had to get in his drawers and
Oh,
get in his drawers and grab some more tools. So it's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. That was
He was like apologizing to me. He's like, "Man, I'm sorry. This is taking." I'm like, "Dude, I'm sorry. I just, I just want it out."
it
So
was
it was rough.
wow. We've all been there. It's been a while for me, but thank goodness. But like Bill Clinton used to say, I feel your pain, because I hated that. I hated that. So what else is going on? We were talking a little bit about the economy and some of the transitions out there. What are you seeing with your customers? I was going to share some of what I'm seeing with mine, and between the two of us, kind of keep our finger on the pulse. Um, what are you guys seeing out there in terms of where things are going here in May of 2023?
I mean, what I'm seeing on Facebook too, I should throw that in there. So, I mean, for the most part, most people who are, go-getters and they're going out and they're making it happen. Like they're still getting sales. They're still this past week, they had some 90-degree weather. And like most of the people in my group have had some 90-degree weather, and they kind of blew up like over the weekend.
Yeah,
And so, with several emergency calls and several people turning their systems on for the first time. So that's good. That's helped spur,
sure.
some business for everybody. Um, but there are some people out there who are, I'm not going to say in my group. I mean, if they are, they haven't reached out to me to get help. But I know there's people just from seeing what's happening on Facebook and some of the posts from the different contractors that there's definitely people out there struggling.
Yeah,
With customers, not necessarily going the same route that they normally would with a replacement, or shopping around a little bit more than what they normally would as well.
okay.
So
Yeah.
that's what have you been seeing?
Similar. Actually, before you and I jumped on this, I do a coaching session with a heating and air conditioning business owner in Central Florida, and he's doing well. But he was talking about a friendly competitor who suddenly, it doesn't matter what he's putting out there in estimates, they're just not buying. And he says, we seem to be doing okay. Now, you got to understand, this guy's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that when he goes in and he's assessing the house, he's bringing all this stuff up that nobody ever talks about. And
Yeah.
he's got a lot of experience, and he's very well spoken. He's a great guy, and people pick up on that, and that boosts that trust in what he's suggesting, in what he's recommending, if you will, as opposed to people that just kind of look around, they keep it to themselves and say what they say. So he has not felt it, but people in his very market have. And I had another one in one of our mastermind groups, who's south in Florida, so they're well into some warm weather. And he said, what's happening, what we're seeing? People are saying, no, I don't think I'm going to replace it. Just fix it. Just fix it. And so we went around the room because we've got a bunch of people in the group, and there were one or two other ones that are kind of seeing that they're pulling the purse strings, they're closing them a little quicker. So
Sure.
as we see this thing shift in the economy, we're going to start to feel this, but to what extent, who knows? But I think we're starting to see something. I think our strategies are going to adjust. I think we're going to have to,
And that's possible, but I also, not to necessarily play devil's advocate here, but it's fixing to get really hot across the country. And when it does, people will do whatever it takes to, get what they need done just to have cooling. Typically. So we'll see what really happens, I guess, when it gets really hot and it's like 100 degrees every day and with no end in sight. Like typically people make decisions quite a bit faster, and they'll find the money if it's a case of like wondering if they should move forward or not. Once this settles down, like for Kansas at least, usually about the middle of August, up until last year, honestly, we were hot through almost the end of September, which hasn't happened in close to a decade. So it's hard to say what's going to happen this year as far as just what happens with the weather. But if history repeats itself, just as far as like taking last year out of the equation, by the second week in August, we're back to like 80s here in Kansas, and the demand dies down tremendously. So I'll be really curious to see what happens with the Midwest people once that temperature drops back down, once summer kind of comes to a close. That's when it could get really hairy, I think. And who knows what's going to happen with the economy during that time too.
Well, the economy affects more than just, there's the domino effect. There's more than just, our regular customers. You mentioned actually before the recording, I thought it was a good point. These little side hustlers out there, and or even the smaller companies, they default to the emotional trigger of money, cheap, because that's the easiest way to sell, right? Drop your price.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've always, you made a good point too, which was like you got to separate and differentiate yourself. Well, I've always felt that way. I always felt like you've got to be different some way, because that's what helps justify your price being, above, I mean, if any way possible, above your region's average.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who can sell for as much money as they possibly can, I mean, they're always going to do the best in their market typically, unless they're just playing the volume game, which lots of companies do. So I think, but in order to be able to do the volume game, we may have talked about this before, I'm not sure, but you have to reach like a certain level with the number of customers that you have and the number of people that you have to go fulfill the work that does sell, to actually deliver the service. So if you don't have those two things in place, forget about just trying to be the low price all the time. Like you're kind of stuck in the middle when it's the way I've always seen it. You're kind of, when you're growing your business and you've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 people on your team, you're kind of stuck in this middle zone where you do kind of have to, you can't be the cheapest guy on the market. Like you have to be, there better be something special about you, in my opinion, and you're going to have to charge more than some of your competitors. And you should, if you can. That's what business is, right? I mean, honestly, we're here to make money.
Sure.
Profit is not a bad word. So,
yeah. However, the not to be devil's advocate either.
Yeah.
But this, I know this, and I know that your students and your groups know this, and mine certainly do as well. We talk about this all the time. That we have to be profitable, and we have to understand our numbers, and when we do, and things get more competitive, there's always a huge percentage of heating and air conditioning people out there. I don't even want to call them businesses sometimes. Maybe they're small businesses, and they don't know. And they quickly sink into a negative cash flow position without even understanding that, without realizing that. All they know is, I got money moving, and I can, which is, solves my problems.
Which as long as they continue to sell stuff, they can surprisingly make that last a long time, robbing Peter to pay Paul, but it will catch up with them.
Yes, it will. Yeah. And I lived that,
It's not pretty when it does.
I lived that. We went through some really tough times as well, because, back when I was in business, we didn't have these resources. And so, it took me a while to figure out the pricing. And, I mean, we weren't that cheap, but,
I was.
It ultimately that he comes back, and then what happens is your debts continue to grow but if you're watching that, we didn't let it get that far, but we had some tough times. So I took on a really big job. I think I mentioned this in a prior recording, and I lost my butt on it. And because I really wasn't qualified to price that properly. We did the work fine. We probably could have been a little bit more efficient, but still, it's a big job. Really threw me in the rears, and that's the kind of stuff that can put you under.
That's the type of stuff that I do see people doing. You've got to you got to pull the reins back. Like, focus on what you're really good at. Don't be chasing, these unicorn jobs that, seem like a lot of money, and when it's not your forte, it's not what you are really good at and what you would say or call yourself an expert in. I know you can do it. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that you're not capable of doing it, but you have to be careful on those for sure.
You said a mouthful there.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out a way to support that, because I'm seeing this as well. They'll pick up, I don't know, a property management group, and they work at a discounted rate, but there's so much work that they just can't pass this up. This is the solution to my problems, or maybe I got this really big job over here and it eats up 80% of my time. And now, all my eggs are over in this basket over here. And it's really tempting, because emotionally you're like, here's my opportunity. This will solve my problem. Right?
Yeah.
And it only makes them worse, at some point.
Well, especially with the guys who are, very, very skilled, and they know refrigeration, they know, industrial
controls.
There's so many opportunities. Yeah. Controls. Like, there's so many opportunities for them, and it's hard for them to pass those up sometimes, to just stay in their lane.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, like, unless you're, for the most part, stay in your lane. That's what I would say and recommend.
Yeah. I mean, you can use them transitionally. So
yeah,
my story, when I had started my business, I had no customers. And so utilizing my, I was licensed refrigeration in my state, because it was separate, the heating and air conditioning as well. So I would do convenience stores at first, walk-in coolers, reach-ins, ice machines, and little fractional horsepower stuff all over the place. But ultimately that led into grocery stores. And if you're a technician, it's such a turn on. You go in there, you go back in the mechanical room, there's these racks of compressors and these big control systems, and they've got all these additional controls in there, because they'll take a single compressor and they'll run very, different, using something called EPRs, different evaporators, with different temperatures, all on the same, circuit, which you're like, because it's exciting. And so I was in the same thing, and I got in there, but because it was a national grocery store, they had some maintenance people on staff that would take care of most of their stuff during the day. And so Pete got called in the evenings and weekends a lot.
Yeah.
And then there was a pre-negotiated rate, and it wasn't as good. I could only mark stuff up so much, but sometimes I'd have a huge leak, and so I'd get those big old cylinders, and I get so much per pound markup, and so it was really good money. But a lot of times I'm out there, it's just for, if I remember right, this is going to be laughable by today's rates. I think it was $35 an hour back then, but the going rate was probably about 60, 50 or 60 for, service. And, but yeah, it was a good ride. It was fun. It was prestige. I take care of this grocery chain,
Right.
chain.
So status.
Right. But you know what happened? I started to grow, and
Yeah.
I could not find any employees that I could send out there and turn loose. And so I had to do all the refrigeration. So I started focusing more on stuff that were with it, like you said, knowing what you need to focus on. And I was forced into that by the limitations of my technicians, And so, we made the adjustment, and it was painful. But yeah, excellent point, Kelly.
But if that was a common thread as far as like not having people who know how to do the refrigeration side, then you're always going to be fighting the battle of like not having people to go do the refrigeration side. So it's like if you can just double down in replacements, I mean, you can make 10 times the money. I guarantee it in residential replacements, as long as you have the leads and you're converting those leads, and you're doing a great job there. So it's like, how can we just get better and better at this so we can stop chasing these other things that we're not even though, like you said, it's sexy to be able to go in and fix that, but
Well,
it might not, it'd be harder to scale that. And I would just add that I've talked to a couple of people who do like great big chain supermarkets and stuff, and most of them want to get out of it because they're on some special rate with them. They just don't make the kind of money they need to make. Not all of them. I'm not going to speak for everybody. It's just the people I've talked to. So
I think I called it EPR and ERV. It's been so long. Evaporator pressure regulator, like you have the compressor pressure regulator. It just dawned on me. For you tech geeks out there,
I don't know it.
well, there's probably somebody out there listening saying, "Well, Pete got that one wrong." I roll this stuff off, and it's all starting to run to get. When you get guys don't get old, it starts to it starts to get cloudy up there. But yeah, so that's part of the challenge. So like I've got a young business owner, and he's in one of our mastermind groups, and he's hitting that point. He says, "Yeah, the customers are really." They're calling on us more and more, people who want high quality type work, this type work. And basically I think he's kind of specializing in the Mitsubishi ductless systems, and he's really good. Yeah. And so he's getting a lot of like, custom homes and things like this. However, he's having a hard time, just like I did, getting some people that can go out there and allow him to focus on other things completely. He's just got to constantly have his hand in there. And, I don't know if we can get around that. I think we have to do a better job at training. We have to hire better people. Some people just will never go beyond a certain level. Back in my day, that was pretty normal because blue collar wasn't something that people pursued. Everybody went to college. That's beneath me. I'm not. And I fell into it. I think I told you I joined the Army and they trained me on heating and air conditioning, and I said I'll do that for a while because I was going to come in and run my father and my grandfather's printing business, and they were commercial artists, and I grew up on that stuff, and so. But long story short, that didn't work out, and I stayed in heating and air, and ended up starting a business, just like you did. Not that it was beneath me, because I loved it, but it was just we were socially programmed that to look down. You were talking about Facebook. I remember somebody put a post on there that the mommy said to the little boy or little girl, you need to go to school or you're going to end up working like this guy, this young man. And he's he's talking to the camera, and he was so upset, and he's drying his tears with the $100 bills that the lady paid him. You know,
Yeah.
basically throwing that back because it's BS.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been proven at this point that it's very lucrative. It's a lucrative business. It can be a very just lucrative career. If you don't want the headache, of owning a business, and the stress that comes with that, then you can absolutely make an absolute killing if you're awesome at what you do in this business. Any part of the business, pretty much. I mean, you just be a service tech. You can just do sales. You can just do installation. And if you're really good, you can go work anywhere you want to and make a lot of money. So, I mean, it's a good business. I think we don't have to argue that, but there's a lot of people out there, like you were saying earlier, that only created a job for themselves. They don't own a business. They own a job.
Yep.
It's a really crappy job.
And they think it's their customers.
They don't know where their next meal is going to come from, and they're scared.
And so it's going to get tougher. It's going to get tougher. I had a conversation, Kelly, with another a new member to our groups, and he was talking about he's trying to hire some talent, and that I knew about this about service. Service technicians are asking for more and more because, they're getting some really nice, pay dangled in front of them to come to work over here.
And there's probably only 25% of them deserve that kind of pay.
That's a whole other conversation here. I agree. Yeah. But the point is that people are throwing money at the technicians. Well, now even on installation, we're seeing that these installers are saying, I'll work for you, but I want a flat rate of, and it's just a ridiculous number. I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so here's this business owner, and he's got employees wanting more and more money from the inside. And then he's got his customers wanting to pay less and less money from the outside. And so here he is getting squeezed in the middle. And if I could paint a picture of what this future might look like, that might be the primary elements. The economy's going doing what it's doing. People are pulling back. They not wanting to spend as much. Technicians are wanting more pay. They want better benefits. They need a better reason to stay. And so what does this mean?
One of two things will happen. Either for one, either people will get lean, which I think there'll be a lot of that happening.
I do too. Yeah.
Get lean and efficient. And those few people on the team that rock can stay and make that kind of money and earn it and deserve it. And everything will be good on that team. And they'll probably find that half the people they have on their team, they didn't need anyways.
Yeah.
And then the other thing would be, some of those people will go running to the biggest competitor in town who does pay, because they either have the volume, and chances are it'll be the volume, because if it continues to happen, if it does happen where people, I think there's always going to be different tiers of clients. And so it kind of depends on what tier of client you serve. If you're up there serving, the affluent people in the community, then life's not going to change much for you. Because the affluent they have the money, they'll spend it. They're not worried about spending it. It's all the people below that are middle class, to lower middle class, like they're going to struggle, and they will be probably looking for the cheapest bid. I mean, if things get too tight, so if that happens, then you can either do a whole bunch of volume and give them that cheap price and try to make up your margins just in quantity, or start marketing more to the affluent and taking more pay.
Yeah, I think most, I see this a lot, and I know you're going to back me up on this. I think most heating and air conditioning business owners that I interact with, I shouldn't say most, that I'm dealing with on some level, they are symptom aware and they're not problem aware. And so they see what's happening, they don't understand the true problem. And instead of like what you do so well and sitting down and going through the numbers and getting all that dialed in and 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 making the proper adjustment, they have this they try to resolve the symptoms instead of that, and it just makes things worse. And so a lot of people are going to go out of business. But to your point, this is not a
And
plug.
and
Go
real
ahead.
quick, I just didn't finish what we were talking about the technicians.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
when it comes to the technicians, like I think if it continues the way it is, like these people job hopping for $1 here, $2 there, or a sign-on bonus here and a sign-on bonus there, there's going to be a breaking point to that shit.
Yeah.
Eventually there will be a breaking point and that will end. And some people will get, a great deal of technicians, I think, who aren't worth their own salt will be put in their place, and they'll either move on to a different industry or they'll get their stuff together and start learning how to be a real technician. But there's a lot. I mean, a lot. I mean, we had, just in the short amount of time, I see a short amount of time, 14 years, we had over 52 people come and go from the company, possibly more. And some of those people did have experience. And I'm telling you, they are not technicians. They think they are, but they're a joke. And there's a lot of jokes out there, which is very sad. But it's just reality. People think because they know how to diagnose a bad run capacitor or a contactor, they think they know what they're doing, and they think they need to have 40 or $50 an hour.
So,
and that's a problem. And there will be a breaking point at some point, in my opinion.
I agree. So sales has been described as a transfer of enthusiasm. When you have a salesperson and they're really enthusiastic about the product, everything else, the potential customer, the prospect doesn't know it to that level. So they invest based on that enthusiasm. They like, he knows it and he really is into it. It must be really good. So that's the way people work. What you just described happens a lot on heating and air, and I could not agree more. I cannot tell you the interviews I've sat on, looking at potential new technicians for Micah. Yeah, and you're sitting there and they act like they know everything, and you ask them a fundamental question, and they have no clue. They have no clue. Beer can cold. Back in the day, that was the thing, and everything was R22. I think every once in a while you come across R500, which was mostly light commercial stuff. But
that's why, Pete, all of the big players that are doing great and growing leaps and bounds, the same people who go from 10 million one year to 21 million the next year, they've all learned that they've started just training in-house. They've all learned this, all the big that's the reason I'm telling you. Like, you just wait. And then you've got all these little business owners who are waiting for somebody to come along with experience to come help them in their business.
And they're not coming.
And I was the same way. And I've got people in my group that are the same way. They're all waiting. And I'm not saying you won't snatch up somebody here and there or get lucky, somebody who does have some experience that is worth a damn. But 9 times out of 10, the people with experience, you do not want on your team.
Yeah,
because they come with baggage and chips on their shoulders and drama in their lives, and they're just messes. Yeah, and they're not good technicians either. I mean, I'm just throw them under the bus here. Might as well, because it's true.
On a routine basis, I had employees all the time asking for money in advance because of whatever their crisis was, wanting to sell stuff because they were in a pinch. We pay pretty well. The other thing, just bailing them out of jail. I've done that. It's or I had my one guy. He says, I was just sitting there minding my own business, and all this trouble hit me. And I said, sitting where? He's in the worst part of town in one of the low life, sleazy, seedy clubs, and where all the low life saying, "Well, I'm just sitting there minding my own business," and I'll never forget that. I'm like, how do you think that way? But anyway, so there's different people out there, and there's a lot of people that just don't. They're not good for your company. They're not good for your customers. They're not good for you. And
There's another thing that happens in businesses, and it happened in mine as well, is people who climb the ladder and make more and more and more money as the company makes more and more money. You have to understand there's a sense of entitlement that can set in with people. And it's like success is earned every single day. You've heard that saying, like you got to earn your success every day. And it's true. And so that's another problem is people get on a team, and by the time they've been there 6-7 years, like they just think they're entitled to the best calls. There's certain things they don't do or won't do, or whatever the case. They're just this growing sense of entitlement that has to be kept in check, because you have to earn that success every day. It's not the old days of all you had to do was show up in order to gain your seniority every day. Those are gone. Like that's another thing that I feel like has changed. Like everybody should be fighting for their spot on the team, in my opinion.
yeah. Well,
people can argue with me all day long on that. But hey, if you're not fighting for a spot on the team, what are you doing on the team? Why would I want you on my team?
What makes a team work to begin with is good communication. And I've had these conversations. I was talking to a young tech the other day, and the manager of the company is female, and because her dad has started the business, she runs it now. And she's really bright, does a good job. And anyway, he's like, I'm the one that's under these houses. I'm the one that's doing this, that, and the other. She has no clue what it's like, this, that, and the other. And I deserve more, this, that, and the other. But his perspective is limited to that role, and he doesn't see all this other stuff that has to come together in order for him to be in that position, to be under that house, right? And so there's a lot to this, and a lot of times that entitlement is just really based on ignorance to everything else that's going on. It's not justified in a certain way, because that's hard work, especially in certain areas of the country. Like where I had my business, there were a lot of crawl spaces, a lot of under the house work. I'm down there on my elbows going through there, and
same here.
Yeah. So, but and then I went out to Florida, and everything's sitting nice and pretty in the garage, in an upflow or a closet or something, and a few attic jobs, but still, big change. So, and basements up north and things like that. So there's certainly some. They need to get that respect, and they need to get that appreciation back, but they also need to be informed as to some of these other things in that communication, in that culture, so that they do understand. You were talking about, or you alluded to, all the stuff that we do on differentiating yourself. I think that squeeze that's coming is we're already feeling is going to be it's going to require us to do some different things. And if you're just heating and air like everybody else, then I can choose somebody else. I don't have to have you. But if you're the only one that's X and I need X, or I perceive you as the very best at X because you're a specialist, then that's probably worth a few more bucks, and as opposed to just trusting some company out there. But what you were referring to on the in-house training, so true.
Just because people are, it's there's a lot of prima donnas out there, and there's a lot of people, a huge majority of them that have just. I think that with licenses, like if you're in a state that requires a license, that where people have to go get continued education units, or whatever, CEUs, then there's at least a small amount of learning that they have to go do. And you've got some people who go home every night and watch YouTube videos and are learning all the time. But the majority of them are not. Majority of them are watching the clock, trying to get home as quick as they can every night, so they don't have to think about work or do heating and air conditioning of any kind.
Yeah.
And they stopped learning after the second year that they, basically after the second year of being in the field, they just stopped learning. They never continued to learn more. And those people,
I those
like
people.
they're a dime a dozen.
So what do you think? I have a hard time getting past this. I know that this whole pandemic thing and people getting paid to sit home and everything else kind of really hurt the market in terms of people who want to work. And so we've seen that a lot of people, they can't find anybody that wants to work. They just want to sit there and play with their phone. They're not interested in learning, like you were talking about. And so
Yeah.
that's become a big issue. But um, tough times, anything tough in life, you're not talking about that, whether it's weight training and diet. When you put yourself through difficulty, you come out stronger. As times get tougher, we're seeing not just the next generation grow up, we're seeing parallel industries go out. People are getting losing jobs and everything. So there's a lot of unemployment that's starting to creep in out there. Hopefully it won't get too bad, but what's going to happen is as these companies who train their own are recruiting, they're going to discover, hey, I can take somebody who's already, skilled in the automotive industry in mechanics or in the textile industry, like what we did back in the day, or something, even in systems, computer systems and stuff like that, and bring them over, and man, they're going to pick it up quickly. And so would you agree that while we're losing a certain segment to being lazy and they just don't want to work, whatever, there's going to be some hungry ones that are going to come in and snatch that stuff up? And I think the industry will actually improve in a certain way as these come in, because I mean, we're already seeing that. There's probably some people listening. Do you know of anybody personally that they're hiring, like ex mechanics or something like that and training them themselves?
Oh, I would hope that all of my people would hire anybody like that who has a great attitude and has a track record and, can speak in complete sentences and doesn't have a drug problem, has a valid driver's license.
Right, right,
I
right.
mean, it's insane that, I mean, there's certain parts of the country, it's very slim pickings on even those people.
So the
Like even
gap,
just to have a valid driver's license, it's absolutely insane.
it is, it is.
So, so I would hope that anybody out there would pick somebody who's, yeah, and give them a chance if you have a spot, on the team.
So it here you are sitting with your business. You really want somebody that you're going to train, but you don't want to invest because it's an investment. You want return. You don't want to invest in whatever you called the incompetent types. You don't want to invest in that. You'd like to attract one of those people from outside of the industry, but they never even considered heating and air conditioning. So there's a gap between, there's this great need, for that type of people. And then there's these type of people, they're looking for an opportunity. They really don't know where to look. How do we get
Yeah.
their attention over to us, or do we, or is that just left up to the time and
I don't know. I think it's
circumstances?
I mean, it's kind of like the whole reason like Angie's Leads or whatever it's called now. Angie's List, Angie's Leads, I think is what it's called. Like um Home Advisor, American Home Shield, Warranty, like all these different companies that are just middlemen. They're just flat out middlemen. They've done a better job of advertising, than the heating and air conditioning companies did. Like in these specific areas, which I don't know, made them more relevant, I guess, made people find them. So I think it just kind of boils down to we got to be advertising like almost all the time, in my opinion, like all the time. If you want to find people, like, for the last 2 years in my business, I had ads up.
So there
Just
you are,
because.
you're up to your elbows in the work every day. But now Kelly says you understand marketing, advertising, and how to properly recruit these people over from other industries and put your message out there. How are you going to do all of this?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
obviously you're going to have to, be of a certain size so that you can work on your business as opposed to in your business, like the, was it E-Myth, taught years ago. But, and then the whole marketing thing needs to be part of your, needs to be automated. I couldn't agree with you more about I hate to use this word because they've been very helpful, but there's a lot of parasites on the HVAC industry just sucking all of our profits off of us, or what we could be making.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not that the services aren't needed, but some
No, but it's dangerous territory for
yeah,
heating and air conditioning businesses because everybody wants a piece of what you have.
yep, yep,
And
yeah.
so it's, including me as a coach. But
Well,
the the thing about it is like the amount of money that I'll save you just by not making these stupid mistakes, like that alone,
yeah,
that's worth 200, that's worth $250,000 to you over the course of 2 or 3 years. Because people all the time when I talk to business owners, they're like, well, I'm spending 2,000 a month on this marketing company, but I'm not getting jack squat from it. I'm like, but they wouldn't take that money and invest it into going to learn how to run their business
yeah. It's
because they just
mindset.
think they can fix it their own. I think it's part of the technician mentality is like, I can figure this out. I'm going to figure this out. I can do this, and just not wanting to ask for help.
No, it's like, okay, so you're out there, you got a business running, and let's say that you had the ability to hire a technician um that was better than you, had more experience than you, could jump in, help you out for a day or two, not only catch you up but move you ahead, and then they go away, and if you need them again, they can come back. So that same strategy is what we're talking about on, like what Kelly does on the business. You hire somebody that steps in there in your office, boom, boom, and no, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and he knows better than you do because most of us, right? So because of his experience, and I do some of the same stuff that Kelly does, but that's really his forte. And like, or on the marketing, what you were talking about on the app, that's exactly what we do. We're nonstop advertising and marketing, but it's part of process. It's part of your identity. It's part of your messaging. It's part of, what is it that makes you stand out from everybody else? What is it that visually stimulates these gut emotions that are like, wow, that's a better quality company. Of course, they're going to charge more. I can see they're more professional. They're more this or more that. That's
Yeah.
what that's about. So, but again, if you're problem unaware, then oh, my customers love me because of me. That you don't realize that all customers smile and love you, in that moment, because there's a motivation for that. But if you look at yourself in the market, how you're perceived and what that reputation is, and by the way, your reputation is what people say about you when you're not in the room. What do they really say? You probably don't know. And you can control that if you take and implement these things. So you can literally, let's say you pay a guy $25 an hour, you're going to pay him $1,000 a week, and you're going to pay him whether he's productive or not, for less than you would pay, hire a new hire to come in and just, suck your profits off. You could actually bring a pro in these areas for as long as you need them. And then they're, job done, they can move on and float, bring you up. So we are not parasites, my brother. I know you
No.
didn't mean it that way, but we are certainly a service offered to heating and air conditioning companies.
It's an investment, not an expense. Put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
just like the technician. Exactly, like it's an investment. People look at, oh, this great technician, I can't afford that. Well, the great technician's going to make you money. If you have the calls to give them, if they're a great technician
There's a
and you're
return on that
priced
investment.
right,
Yeah,
they're going to make you money, and they're
Yeah,
going to, build your reputation if they're great. People will say good things about them if they're great. People will leave him reviews or her reviews if they're great. That's all positive things coming back to your company. So it's not that you can't afford them. It's just that,
Well,
most of the time they're just too scared to do anything.
yeah.
Like
So
that's tough.
the perfect technician comes along, and you really don't have a spot for them, you make a spot for that.
You
You
make a
got to
spot.
do it. Yeah, you got to. If
Yeah.
you haven't heard that said before, yeah, you got to. But
Yeah. You don't pass up an opportunity. If it lands in your lap, you got to grab it. But part of being ready to, this is like part of luck, like creating your own luck, like every so often these opportunities will come, but you've got to be prepared to be able to take them.
sure.
And that's a good example, is if you get a great technician that walks in who has just had it with his other place that he works at, but he needs to make what he deserves, and you're not able to pay him, then you're not prepared, and you just have to be prepared for that so you can actually jump on those opportunities when they arise.
Yeah, like on the sales side, you'll never sell anything you don't offer, you don't tell your customer about. So you'll never find these employees that you don't put yourself out there and let them know about you, right? So you got to put you got to make yourself visible. You got to make people aware.
Yeah,
But
make people aware. Like on your website, you ought to have a place for people to apply, to reach out to you. You ought to be asking for referrals ask your customers for referrals, man.
yeah,
Like they know people, and they already trust you and they like you because if they've been using you for a little bit, like ask them, who would you know that would be a good fit for our team?
I've done that. I've recommended people just because they did right by me, and they literally ask if you know anybody else. And I found myself going out of my way, say, hey, if you need such and such, I gotta tell you, this person's pretty good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so asking is gonna,
That's the
multiply.
thing, is people want to sit around and complain that they can't find any good people, but you ask them the question, what are you doing currently to find good people? And the answer is, oh, well, last week maybe I did a Facebook ad. Okay, what else?
Yeah.
Like, are you putting flyers up at the supply house? Are you talking to all the supply houses? Um,
Yeah, we
are you,
tried all that.
I mean,
You heard that
yeah,
one? Oh, we tried all
okay,
that.
well, that's the thing. Intensity is lacking, duration is
Is
lacking.
lacking.
So there has to be like, Rome wasn't built in a day, that old saying, right?
Sure.
Like anything great doesn't happen overnight. You can't just try a little bit. You've got to try hard, and you've got to try for a long period of time. And that includes finding people.
That's why the big companies always have hiring on the side of every van. They're always hiring.
Well, and a lot of those big companies have hiring or recruiting managers that's their entire job.
Nice. Social media
So that,
managers. There's all these type of little things that are
yeah.
spinning off. Yeah. So does this mean, in your opinion, there's going to be a separation between the big guy and the little guy?
Well, I think people who aren't on the right track, who aren't providing that service a level above and beyond, they're always going to struggle, but it could get worse. I'm not, I'm not like I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to what's going on, but there's no question that inflation has put a damper on things. No
Yeah.
question at all.
Yeah.
I know just for us, our household groceries went from like 350 a week to like 550 a week. Well, that that can be tough, on a family of five.
Yeah. We're definitely feeling it too.
So it's
Um,
like we're a family of four. So because my son lives with us and my nephew lives with us. So
so my blood pressure is probably higher than yours because I do follow all this stuff, and we've talked about this offline. And And I get exactly why you don't want to get involved in that, because it can be pretty crazy. But with seeing what's going on there, we're definitely in for more of this, and it's going to be for a while. So for you guys that are out there, find a peer group. Okay, find a coach that may or a maybe a mastermind group of peers and things like this, in which some of this stuff is shared. I know that you've talked about this, and as well as us in our mastermind groups. We've got guys from all over the United States as well as Canada, and inevitably somebody will bring something up that there's it could be price increase, it could be anything. All of a sudden, everybody's feeling it, and that's been one of the big benefits is, as a member, just taking a few hours every month and meeting up with your guys and catching up, and it gets pretty social. It's kind of nice. You have somebody who knows the business, but they're not your competition. What happens is your awareness starts to go up, and you start to see trends before they ever come out, and you don't have to wait for it to come out in a trade journal. You're kind of on the live, finger on the pulse. So these are the types of things that, to be successful in this business, as Kelly's referred to in a number of ways, we're going to have to be more sophisticated owners. We're going to have to do it better.
Long gone are the days, they have been gone for quite some time, but anytime things like this happen, with the economy, it gets a little harder and a little harder and a little harder, which means you have to really up your game. You just need to be better. You need to be better than these chucks in the trucks,
Yeah. So the masses were going to react, but an educated person who's prepared is going to proactively take actions that are counterintuitive. They don't necessarily feel like the right thing to do, but it's going to catapult them ahead. In market shifts like this is where the big opportunities come in. I think, Kelly, you talked about that. There's going to be a lot of money being made as this thing shifts. But there's going to be a lot of people who are they're not going to make it. So, yeah, good stuff, man.
Well, it's one of the, we are in one of the top failing industries in the world already.
Yep.
So, it's just going to get harder. It's not, working for somebody is not the same as owning your own business. So just everybody takes this, the pill, they take the pill, they take their medicine, right? and it's like hard medicine to swallow when you get out there and you realize just how much more there is to this than just running calls. So
you never forget the first time you got to go back and change that compressor under warranty and eat it all.
Oh yeah, that's
or change a unit out at your because you missed something. I remember my first when I switched from Train to Linux, I didn't do the product performance data calculation, and I was in a high humidity area, and so it didn't humidify quite as well. So I pulled a 2-ton out, put in a 2-ton back in, and it wouldn't carry.
Yeah.
I had to take care of it, right?
Man, I had to replace the compressor once. It was a Carrier package unit. Those stupid the package units that had the coil on top.
Oh yeah. That top discharge.
Yeah, well, it's on top. The coil on top.
Oh, you're talking about I know what you're talking about.
Shelf, and then there's the burner section, the blower section, and then the compressor section.
Yeah, I wouldn't have carried it, but I've seen them.
Yeah, they're a newer style. I mean, they're newer than like back in the day when you were, I say newer. It's probably like 2000, like 2000, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyhow, I had to replace a compressor on one of those on a rental house. And the compressor was like, I want to say like just random, like 38,000 BTUs. Right. And it was it was rated as like a 3-ton, something to that nature. Okay. So I go get a new compressor, and I couldn't get an OEM that piped in the exact same way. So I had to get one slightly different, but it was like 36,000 BTUs.
Oh, okay.
Those 2000 BTUs completely ruined that unit. Just would not keep up after that.
Wow.
That little slight difference was like, obviously it was such on the verge of not being able to keep up at all
Yeah.
that once I lost those 2000 BTUs, I lost everything. So I wound up having to replace the whole unit.
Yeah.
But it's little things like that that, I thankfully the guy paid for the new unit. I probably just ate the compressor.
Yeah. Yeah. You do what you got to do. But
That wasn't under warranty, so it was a very
yeah.
expensive repair. Um,
Well, and then having that insight and offering that replacement as a solution, as opposed to him sticking you, and you're going to have to wait on OEM now. And, it really could have been bad. But all I'm saying is this.
oh yeah, could have been real bad.
You offered that other thing that like kind of got you off in a way. I mean, it cost you, but it kind of saved your butt financially.
Yeah, saved me, but still, it's like
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, 6 pounds of refrigerant, torch vacuum nitrogen,
Yeah.
like 2 service calls and
Yeah.
and a compressor and a trip to Wichita and like all these things that when you monetize it, it adds up really quick just how expensive it was.
Which was a good lesson. I had a guy last week, similar thing, but he had changed the compressor and he went with I think he said it was a Chinese compressor and had no warranty. I never heard of that. But maybe you guys are hearing about that now. And so he put that in and he gave him a year warranty, and it was good through, I think, the 23rd of May. And then it failed last week. So it almost made a year and then it failed. Well, he fortunately, when he put the 1 year, he didn't put it on the total. He put it only on the compressor. And so he said, I can get you another compressor. And you asked me, what the hell am I going to do? And, so we basically had that conversation, exactly what you did. Do we really want to, we've had the original compressor fail. Now we've had this one fail, it was grounded. I think the first one, they had to do a cleanup and everything else. Do we really want to put another compressor in here? Or is this, can I discount this towards, and let's get you a new system here? And that's what they went with. And it saved his butt too. But that mindset, offering that option is really important. Give your customers options,
Yeah, that's another thing that I'll say real quick, because we've kind of been on this topic, is that if you go out and you find a bad compressor or a cracked heat exchanger or whatever, a dead fan motor, or a big old hole in the condenser coil, whatever the problem, that justifies or makes you talk about replacement with the customer, a lot of times we've been spoiled to where, oh, well, this thing needs to be replaced. The technician gets it in his mind, like, this thing needs to be replaced. It's got a dead compressor. It's 15 years old. It needs to be replaced. Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. Like, I 100% agree with that. But the last thing you want to do is give them a price to replace it. And if they choose not to replace it, don't walk away. Like, at least get the repair.
Yeah.
But just make sure you've got lots of disclaimers, write everything on there. Like, I am not guaranteeing anything else other than this particular part. If it fails, if we replace it and it's only going to be what the manufacturer gives us on the warranty, like, you've got to cover your butt on that in case there's future issues.
Well,
but I'm just saying, like, don't walk away from your repairs.
No, and I just want to add to that, because customers have this mindset of it's working fine. And, you walk up on it. Well, it's been working fine until you touched it, and who knows what happened. In their mind, blowing hot air, blowing cold air is working fine, but it doesn't mean it's really working fine. Okay. So you come in and you say, look, it's not worth fixing. You want to go ahead and replace it. And they say no. And you don't get the replacement, and you don't offer the repair. You don't follow through with the repair. They'll call somebody else. Inevitably, they'll fix it, and you're going to get a negative review of, yeah, he was trying to sell me a new system, and this other guy came in and did this, and now it's working fine. And maybe it's not working fine. Maybe it was just
customer too, which
right
when you add up what's it cost to acquire a customer? I mean, it's expensive.
Oh yeah, very expensive. That's
So
why
you can't afford to lose customers. It's more so than always going after brand new customers. There's also a good portion, some of your marketing dollars need to go towards retaining your current customers. Like spend money on the people who already know, like, and trust you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like spend money on them, like give them some cool stuff in the mail or something, like
Yeah.
instead of always searching for new customers. Like
I agree.
that's another huge problem. So
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's for a lot of people, well, what happens is, they're in customer acquisition mode for those first 5 years, and that's what they've learned, and they just kind of stay in that, and
Yeah.
they've got all this potential with the customer base that they built, but they haven't taken some of those funds and allotted them back into marketing the existing customer base, and it costs them because it closes, the closing ratios and the success levels with new customers are not near what they are with your existing ones. The person who's most likely to buy from you is somebody who's already bought from you. That's the bottom line. So
I always say a buyer is a buyer.
right.
That's a Dan Kennedy thing. Like people who have bought from you, like they're a buyer. They're a buyer. So you've got to offer them how can you help them?
Yep. And the customer's a customer. So
yeah. So
amen, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. So I didn't check the time, but I think we're probably at the 1 hour mark there about. So hopefully we didn't bore too many people if we went over. So, Kelly with his toothache, you know how you can be.
Yeah, I'm kind of grumpy tonight. So
Oh, you're good, man. You're
my
good.
face hurts, man.
Yeah. At least you didn't yell at me on the air like you did before we recorded, but
yeah, right.
Anyway, well, dude, it was awesome talking to you as always. So if you guys out there, hit the like, subscribe, and everything else. We've got 2 different podcasts playlists. There's one on Kelly's channel, there's one on mine. You can watch them both because he does other stuff, I do other stuff, and hopefully, give you something to listen to when you're out there running around. It is better than Netflix and just sitting around and making your mind go soft. Maybe we can actually add some value. But
on the electronic income reduction machine.
I hadn't heard that. That's pretty good. Electronic income reduction machine. So I think I married 1 or 2 of them. So anyway, you guys be safe out there. Keep between the ditches. On behalf of Kelly, McKay, Pete Ramsey here. You guys, we'll see you on the next one.